Hey, it's Mac, and I'm gonna keep this really short because when I recorded this episode, like when I start to record it, I find myself like wandering. I really don't want to do that. Lynn Spears recently came out and put out a post like reintroducing herself. Um, I There's a long list of terrible things that Lynn Spears has done to her daughter. She has, according to witnesses, drugged her. She has kidnapped her. Um, she served her on a platter to Jamie Spears and Lou Taylor. Um, in the custody evaluation, Britney describes being gaslit by Lynn. So I want you to imagine for a second how you would feel if you were passing drug tests. You knew your ex husband was doing drugs, he was doing everything he accused you of doing. And your mom takes the ex husband's side and accuses you of doing drugs, and then helps your father traffic you for the next 14 years and doesn't get involved with the conservatorship and the abuses until you say, as long as he's the conservator, I won't work anymore. That's when Lynn got involved. Not when Jamie locked her up for 4.5 months, not during the other fake rehab stays, not when Britney was being forced to work with 102-degree fever, not when access to her children were being withheld. No, she did not get involved until Britney said, I won't work as long as Jamie's the conservator. So it seems to me, I mean, you can see the news stories on the screen and everything. It seems to me that these posts of Britney's, it seems to me that the nudity is a response to her mother, trying to rewrite history once again. I think it's reminding her mom that she now owns her own body and that her mom doesn't own her anymore. And I do think that when Lynn Spears talks about in her book, she talks about the conservatorship and Britney. She says, like verbatim, she says to the effect, I struggled to imagine the depths that Jamie would have to go to regain control of his daughter. Not help his daughter regain control. And the conservatorship was about control. I think it was about control. I think it was about punishment. I think that my opinion, based on what happened, is that the conservatorship was about Lynn punishing Britney for trying to get away from the family. How dare she try to have a life? And Sam Letvy, you guys, I don't know how to say his last name. I always say it wrong and I'm sorry. So I'm just going to call him Sam L. He said in his interview, he said that they never wanted her to have a boyfriend. Like, Britney Spears is not a human being to these people. And what's really incredibly tragic here is that as a mother, you're supposed to love your child. She is one of the rare mothers that I've ever encountered that could do these horrific things to her daughter and still live with herself. Like, the level of disassociation between what Lynn Spears says and what she actually did is alarming. I think she's a very scary person who pretends, to be this sweet Southern lady. And I've known other women of her generation that are very much the same. They are so sweet and they're so nice and everybody loves them and they're just good Christian women. And at the end of the day, they'd probably kill you and bury your body in a swamp. It's, there is this massive disconnect. And she just doesn't get called out like she should have. Like, where's the expose? Where is the full-length feature article calling into question all of this behavior and how it affected Britney? Where is the accountability for giving a 13-year-old alcohol? Where is the accountability for having a 13-year-old drive you around because you took her drinking for the afternoon? Where is all of that? Anyway, the Instagram continues to be strange. I just want to point out that I think all this stuff gets scheduled in advance. I don't think CrowdSurf is posting for Britney at 2 a.m. I think they're scheduling shit to make her look strange. And I think a lot of the nudity stuff is old. But again, I think the nudity is about reclaiming control of her body. That's what I think. And I think the last thing I want to point out is that Cade Hudson aggressively defends himself. So Britney's stand would say, like, hey, he's supposedly out. And then the next thing you know, either Cade is on Britney's Instagram, or he's posting a picture that looks heavily photoshopped on his Instagram of like Britney posing with Paris and everybody else. When people talk about interacting with Britney, they always reference Cade as being in the mix. So you have Heather McDonald who says Cade Hudson was there with Britney at this private club. He's the one who calls me over. Oliver Hudson is like, I know Britney a little bit, like via Cade. I know Cade really well. He's a great guy. There is the Kristen, I think, Cavallari story where she's like, Cade Hudson texted me and he said this number was Britney, and we had a group text because she wanted to know why I was saying she was cloned. And he's like, she says, and then Kristen's like, when I tried to text Britney one-on-one, hey, we should hang out, there was no response. And then there's Billy Bush, and he describes Britney hanging out with Paris and his girlfriend and Nikki Hilton and whoever else, but of course Cade Hudson is there. Pictures don't get posted of Britney Spears with other celebrities unless Cade Hudson is in the mix. And that's been going on. I think it was better when she was married. I think Britney had more freedom from Cade Hudson when she was married. Not a ton, because allegedly she spent her wedding night with Cade Hudson and not with Sam Asghari. That's the story. The story is also that they chose Cade Hudson and Sam Asghari pushed Vicky out. Vicky was helping Britney plan it. They pushed them both out, and they're the ones that set the date and pushed the wedding up, saying that President Biden was in town, and so there was going to be cover, and there was a no-fly zone, and so that's when they had to do it, and this upset Britney. The wedding video is proof that Britney was a bystander and not the focus of that wedding. She's literally as a subject in the video being washed out of her own wedding. There's no footage of like her during the vows or anything. It is clearly Sam Asghari's show. It almost looks like a B-roll for an audition tape, if you ask me. So I think all of that's very, very strange. I think the fact that he aggressively defends himself, comes out with stories, immediately buries my article on Reddit with an announcement about the writer being chosen for a movie that doesn't seem to ever be made, the way that he sends cease and desist letters, the way that he feeds articles about himself saying, I'm not controlling her, but I'm guiding her. And then on Britney's side, when anything happens, there's just crickets. So if his PR strategy is to aggressively defend himself by pushing out stories, burying stories, and sending cease and desist letters, where is that energy for the client who's paying him probably 10 to 15%? And by the way, the Give Back Beauty perfume thing is not going well. So it's his responsibility. He took that away from an established brand where it was working really well and selling really well. And now there are nothing but problems with it. The websites don't get updated. There's no newsletter informing people about it. There's no promotional work. There is some of the perfumes can only be sold in duty-free shops. Some of the perfumes have been banned because they're being sold in countries that have banned the chemicals inside the perfumes. So they had to go and recreate the perfumes from a recipe. Like, it is not the same product it was before. This well-established, well-oiled machine was disassembled and taken someplace else. And why? Was it because by doing that, he now gets a commission from that whole thing? That's my opinion. That's my speculation, my belief. So